When thinking about home ownership in Native communities, it's important to consider what it represents. For many, it represents a promise of safety and security for families. Our homes provide roots and connect us to the land and to our people. But the opportunity to be a homeowner is elusive for many American Indian, Alaska Native, and Native Hawaiian people. This retrospective look at Native homeownership reveals a long list of events and people who have shaped the movement and contributed to its success. The 1990s marked some of the most significant efforts to advance Native homeownership. The National Commission on American Indian, Alaska Native, and Native Hawaiian Housing released a landmark study in 1992, offering recommendations for comprehensive changes to federal Indian housing policies. Dom Nessie became ONAP's first Deputy Assistant Secretary in 1992. In the same year, Congress created the HUD Section 184 Loan Guarantee and Veterans Affairs Native American Direct Loan Programs, both for lending on reservations. In 1993, the Department of Justice sued Black Pipe State Bank, alleging fair lending violations and sending a clear message that bank policies restricting lending on trust land may be discriminatory. Comptroller Gene Ludwig visited the Navajo Nation in 1994 to bring attention to the lack of financial services on reservations. Also in 1994, Congress created the CDFI Fund and mandated a study to examine the lack of credit and capital in Native communities. Based on its findings, the CDFI Fund started the Native Initiative, which set aside funding for Native CDFIs. USDA's Rural Development published its first guide for lending on tribal lands in 1996. As the National Native American Coordinator, Dave Safford championed RD's services on trust land. Later, Elsie Meeks became the first Native State Director and did the same. The enactment of NAHASDA in 1996 was pivotal. Recognizing tribal sovereignty, it gave tribes the authority to administer their own Indian housing block grants. Jackie Johnson Pata became ONAP's Deputy Assistant Secretary in 1997. She oversaw the implementation of NAHASDA and the negotiated rulemaking process. From 1998 to 2008, tribes explored strategies to attract private financing. President Clinton visited Indian country twice in 1999 to showcase homeownership and other market opportunities. During this time period, lenders actively offered mortgage financing on reservations. The 2001 One Stop Mortgage Center report, sponsored by HUD and Treasury, focused on streamlining the mortgage lending process and coordinating federal agencies. 2002, Roger Boyd became the ONAP Deputy Assistant Secretary. During this era, the National American Indian Housing Council advocated for resources and policies to promote Native homeownership. Other national intermediaries helped to build the capacity of Native organizations to prepare homeowners. In 2004, Pathways Home, a Native Guide to Homeownership, was published. In 2005, HUD expanded Section 184 to include a tribe's entire service area, extending beyond Indian reservations and shifting the program's focus to fee simple land. In response to the 2008 subprime mortgage crisis, Congress created a new regulatory framework for consumer protection, which resulted in the retreat of major lenders from Indian country. Starting in 2012, Indian country had its own need for consumer protection. Billions of dollars began to flow to tribal citizens through a series of legal settlements. Tribal leaders responded by developing programs to promote financial capability. Meanwhile, the mortgage industry continued to be impacted by BIA processes. Previous reforms brought improvements, but implementation was not consistent throughout BIA regions. The Hearth Act of 2012 provided promise for tribes choosing to compact their BIA realty services. Today, Indian country is poised to take advantage of the new opportunities to meet the demand for mortgages on trust land. Some of the developments on the horizon are New financial institutions have entered the market. Native homeownership coalitions provide a platform for collaboration. The Native CDFI network and its members are improving the flow of capital to Native communities. The CDFI Fund released new research informing the field with actionable data. And the Center for Indian Country Development has joined the Native homeownership movement as a convener of key change agents. Building on decades of lessons learned and best practices, we stand in an exciting place. Native leaders and their partners have created effective models to overcome persistent barriers. They have shown that home ownership on trust land is not only possible, but an important component of tribal economic development. Together, we can continue to advance Native home ownership throughout Indian country.